Oh, now it isn't.
You say, see that business back.
Yeah. Do you have anybody doing open house or Cedar Wood that's coming by?
They don't want one.
Or no?
Maybe like my brother-in-law.
I can.
Interested.
Okay.
That's really.
All right. I'll mute it. Now I'm going to jump on my computer screen so that way I'm sure my team will be talking. So I'll mute it in here and do it on my computer. Give me a second. Great morning, everybody. So hope you're all doing well. And this is going to be super, super exciting. It'll be probably the dullest thing that you hear, but I hope you take 3 things out of it that you can use. Let me close my door because I don't hear myself in here. So this is really the basics in general of real estate. This is what I built my business on and what will really, really work. But just the key is going to be consistency, just doing things over and over, and then fine tuning, small tweaks. So anywhere from role play to everyday activities that you're doing. What's your small tweak that you can get 1% better? If I can mute. Okay. All right. So I had one of my coaching clients just recently, new client, said to me, he's like, "Hey, what's the best lead sources that I can use?" And I said, well, we always want to lead with revenue, meaning you're making money, then you're taking some of that money, then investing it. That's how I run my team. I don't go into debt for it. I want to make sure that we're running from a profit margin, not a loss. So I said, look, go in your phone. How many contacts do you have? So if you guys all look at your phone, look how many contacts are in there. Average person minimum usually has 200. A lot of people will have 1,500, 2,000 or more. So start dialing A to Z. It's going to do 2 things. It's going to clean up your phone book, and what people do you need to take out of there, and I bet you'll get business out of it. But you want to, I'll get into framework for a conversation. Framework would be FORD. So there's a screen in here later of FORD. So family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Holly, can you mute because I'm actually getting feedback from your Zoom. But if you just forward family, occupation, recreation, dreams. So it's all about, hey, how are you today? How you been? How's the family doing? Anything new or exciting? So you're just having that. And people can easily talk about themselves. That's their number 1 subject. So they can talk all day long. It's going to be easy conversation. Go along with that. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And it should be twice as much listening as talking. So if you think about that as like us as salespeople want to talk, or if there's a gap, then we're talking because we feel uncomfortable. If you're negotiating, the first one to talk loses. So remember that. So just twice as much listening as talking. Ask good questions. And if you're talking about family, they can easily talk about that. They listen for, hey, are they pregnant? How old are the kids? Are they getting ready to go from like kindergarten or go into kindergarten? Are they worried about school systems? So, just part of the conversation. Occupation. Hey, how's work going? What's happening new and exciting with that? They're going to usually the law of reciprocation. If you're asking about their work, oh, what are you doing now? How's work for you? Oh, well, real estate market's a little bit, we're coming into our busier season as we're getting closer to spring. Interest rates have dropped a little bit. We're seeing multiple offers again, whatever it may be, just have that discussion because the reciprocation is they're going to ask you, how is your work? And then recreation would be like, hey, have you been anywhere fun or exciting? You go anywhere on vacation or you have any upcoming vacations? Again, they can talk easily about themselves. And it's going to be usually, you get some that are like a 3 minute conversation. Maybe you get somebody that's a high D that's very direct. They may be a 2 minute conversation or less. You get somebody that's a high I, you're going to be on the phone 20 or 30 minutes. So you may have to, if you know that leading into it, hey, I just wanted to call you before my next appointment. I got an appointment in 20 minutes that I'm going to be walking into. Just wanted to see how you're doing today. And then you're starting that because that way you've set expectations in the beginning of how long how long you're going to be on the call. And then you have to give them a reminder. Oh yeah, I got to jump in about 10 minutes. Like, because they will talk your ear off and you just don't want to be on the phone. But more than likely, they're probably going to be one of those ones that refer you business. So when you start calling A to Z, amazing what you'll get out of there. This client, he got as far as D and he was flooded with business. He's like, holy crap, I don't know, like I can barely keep up right now. Us on Teams, when you start making a lot of calls, you should get a lot of appointments or work on your conversion, one of the two. If you're getting a lot of appointments, then who are you buddying up with to hand off business to? For him, this client, he travels a lot. So he's in Maryland half the time and he's in Florida half the time. I was like, all right, you have to find a couple of agents that you can hand off business to while you're gone. So if you're a single agent, I would ask for like, and then a higher split on a referral. You're not passing off at a 25%, you're passing off at 40 or 50%. There's so many hidden opportunities on the phone. It's literally, if you start calling A to Z, you will be amazed what you find in your phone. And it costs you nothing, costs you time. What's our most expensive resource? And then just consistency. Listen to your calls. If you can record your calls, we use Follow Up Boss, so our calls are recorded. And I'll tell you, when you go back and listen to them, you learn a lot. Because, I was just talking to Brian from our team. I said, go back and listen to them. Would you want to talk to you? If not, how does it sound? What do you need to change? Energy is super important. So make sure you're either standing, walking. I do much better when I'm walking, but then you have to make sure if you're not walking too fast that you're huffing. Like some people are like, what are you doing? If it's somebody you know well, it's not as big a deal. But if it's somebody you don't know that well, it's like, what are you up to that you're huffing so much? So, and they might not even say it, like, you all right? So again, just have those like having the conversation, action wins all the time. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be continued consistently and then listen to in small tweaks. Sue, can you go to the next slide? So here it is. I mean, activity creates momentum. So for our team, we know we break it up as simple things. 20 calls per day is 100 calls per week, Monday to Friday. Weekends are always like, I don't count the weekends because we never know what we're going to be doing. Weekends are usually more chaotic. So we want to see in a month that we're making roughly about 500 calls. So, well, technically 430. But we did a test with Brendan on my team. He was slow last year in the beginning of the year. I said, okay, I said, we need to go really back to basics. Focus on what you can control. I said, how many calls can you make a day? Because he was using a 3-ring dialer with 3 different lines. He was making 300 calls a day and he looked exhausted. I'm like, what is going on? I said, let's sit down. Let's go back to more basics. How many calls a day can you make through our database? Because we have about 56,000 people in our pond. I said, how many dials can you make a day? And still get stuff done. He said, yeah, I can do 100 calls a day. I said, okay, let's do this for 3 months. Let's test it. So 100 calls a day, 500 calls a week. So, and he did that for the first 30 days. I think he's on here. If you asked him, I was like, how is it going? He's like, it's going, it's tough, right? But then within 30 days, now he had some buyers that he was working with. He was getting some stuff under contract. So the next 30 days, he couldn't keep up. He was getting around 400 calls on a weekly basis. And I think we looked at it at 90-day market. 90 days, our average price is 400,000. He had 2.2 million pending and closed. And he had about 8 to 10 other buyers that were actively looking that could write at any time. So I was like, that was just in a 90-day period of taking activity. That was more a massive activity, right? I'm only just saying make 100 calls a week, 20 a day. That's pretty simplified. But if you say, hey, I'm really slow, I need to ramp up business, then start dialing. I mean, if you start making 100 calls a day, amazing what the outcome will be. That's saying a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. So you're going to see that you're going to get something out of it. High activity. I mean, if you look at people in your market, there's agents in your market that are not good agents and they're selling a lot of houses just because of activity. They're willing to take the action. Action always outproduces everything else, but you have to take the action. And then the more you can fine tune things, small tweaks, listen to what you're saying, role play. We do role play 3 days a week. It is what you say, but it is how you say it. So tonality is so important. It is how the words are used. So just making sure, like we use LP Mama, location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment. If you guys aren't using that, use it. Location, price, agent, mortgage, appointment. Every call should end with an appointment. So unless they're like, say they have bad credit. Okay, great. I'm going to follow up in 6 months with you. Yeah, all right. Check in with you. There's always a follow-up. So you should always have an appointment when you're done. And amazing what happens. If you guys have read The Compound Effect, he talks about Big Mo. Once you start building momentum, amazing the outcome of momentum. It's like building a snowball. You have a small snowball, keep building, 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 and the thing's huge by the time you're done. No different than making your calls. And your call, it's calls, texts, and emails. Location, price, LP, MAMA. So location, price, mortgage, agent. God, well, it's motivations. Jesus, I know this as well as I do my own name. Location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. And I'll just kind of role play what it sounds like. Somebody calls the office. They're calling about 123 Main Street. Okay, great. Well, I looked that property up. Is that an area you're looking in? Yes, I'm looking in Bel Air area. Okay, great. This home is priced at 500,000. Is that a price range you're looking in? Because you want to find out. All right, they said area. Usually when they talk about area, they're going to talk about school, work, friends, whatever's driving them to that location. Then, or area, location, and then price. So it's priced at 500,000. Is that a price range you're looking in? Because what happens a lot of times, you'll hear people keystroking in, okay, it's 500,000, and then they're quiet. That's not a time to pause. Pauses are so important in a conversation. You pause there, they're hanging up. It's priced at 500,000. Is that a price range you're looking in? So you're immediately hitting them with a question. Now, when they say, well, I'm not sure yet, or yeah, I've used a mortgage calculator online, then I would go into the mortgage side of, has anybody done a good faith worksheet for you? Meaning that it breaks down your closing costs, your total out-of-pocket expense, and what your monthly payment would be. And if they say no, it's like, do you think that would be helpful? 90% of the people say yes, probably 95%, because you're giving them something of value. If you just said, hey, have you been pre-approved? That's something for you, not for them. But if you ask them if they've looked at a good faith worksheet with a lender that's broken down closing costs, out-of-pocket expense, and total monthly payment, super, super helpful. Then it would be, okay, no, they haven't. Okay, great. I can get one of our trusted lenders to give you a call. Are you available this afternoon? I'll have them reach out to you as soon as possible. And then going into motivation. So what's making you look, or what's making you move? Are you currently renting or do you own your own home? Well, if they're renting, you want to find out if they're in a month-to-month lease or when it ends. If they own a house, what's motivating them to move? Do they need more room? Are they trying to get away from steps? Are they relocating somewhere to get near their grandkids? What's making them move? And then you want to use that motivation later because that's to help you remind them of the reason they're moving. Because people forget that when they're going through the emotional roller coaster of a transaction. So the more you find that out, the sooner the better. And then I would ask, like, okay, have you been out looking at homes yet? And if they say yes, okay, tell me how you've been getting into them. Because if you just said, hey, you're working with an agent, they're going to say yes, majority of the time, even though they're not, because they're going to blow you off the phone. But if you said, tell me how you're getting into homes, they would say, oh, I've been to open houses, or I've called the agent on the sign, or I called from, I've been on Zillow. Okay, great. Do you realize majority of them are going to the listing agent, which means they represent the seller. I'm a buyer specialist. I work just with buyers. So I would help you and have my fiduciary duties, which means I have your best interest at heart. Would you rather have that or have the agent that's working for the seller? And then just a little explanation in that. And then as you find out more of their motivation, now let's try to get an appointment with them. So depending on what their outcome is, so we would always want to do a consultation. So if we can do a consultation, if they're close or near our office, hey, why don't we meet at our office? We'll meet for a 30-minute consultation or strategy session. We'll go over what's happening in the market. We'll look for homes that fit your criteria. I'll have Chris Lane reach out to you later today, our trusted lender. So he'll do that good faith worksheet for you and make sure the numbers match up. But that way we can do some searches for you while you're here in the office too. How about 2 p.m. tomorrow? Would that work? Or you could say, are mornings, afternoon, or evenings better? And that way you can find out what time of day works. If they said, hey, afternoon's great. Would 2 o'clock today or 4 o'clock tomorrow work better? Give them 2 options. But if you just said, hey, what works for you, they're going to give you the most inconvenient time for you. So don't leave it open. Give them times. If you don't control your schedule, they're going to control it for you. When I went through that, is there anything that you guys have as questions? Or because this, like, I'll never forget, Ron Howard is a good friend of mine. He brought his team up. We sat at one conference room table and his team sat at another one. And when we were done, one of his newer agents came up to me and he said, I wish I was here yesterday. I was like, why? He said, I had to call a buyer back between 5 or 6 times just to get all the information. If I would have had that structure of LP Mama, I could have had this all in one call and been more efficient with it and look more professional. So is there anything that I need to go deeper on or any questions that arise? Because this isn't me just talking at you. I'd rather have, so Jason, anybody at your team, Craig, anybody from your team have any questions? Or any comments? Shoot.
This is really helpful. I love the frameworks. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, definitely. My
I
team
think-
hears it all the time from me, so.
Yeah, from my perspective too, I mean, like Jennifer, I mean, I think I think it also is just it shows that you're professional, right? Like this is something you do for a living as opposed to just kind of winging it. So it's great to have a framework like this to be able to reference and just keep on track. And to your point earlier, I think you just get better and better at it because you're so used to doing the same thing every day. So
Yeah, but I think that if you guys team up and do it within the team and then just like test words, see where your filler words are. I know on our team, is a big filler. And it's like they don't know. That's why they're hiring you as a professional, right, Reed? So I just think of, a few of him and Zach and a couple on my team, you have to watch your uhs and ums because like when you practice among each other, you're all intently listening. A client doesn't listen that same way. They're just busy doing what they're doing. So they're not listening to the uhs and ums as much, but the better you can get at taking all of that out of it, the much more professional you sound. And then be careful of filler words. Amazing. Okay. I understand. Like you have to watch what you repeat. So just see what your filler is. And the main way to do that is when you practice. Jason, anything from you guys? Because I know you guys do a lot of script practicing too.
Can you hear me, Lee?
I can.
Okay. Our mic wasn't working. I think probably the most important thing you said, I think is the consistency and the practice, because that gets rid of all of the ums and the filler words. It becomes second nature. And if you're practicing all the time with your teammates, I've heard some people practice with AI in the beginning. But the best is to practice on your calls, and it becomes natural. And if it becomes natural, you're going to get a lot more accomplished, and you're going to get a lot more at bats, and you're going to get a lot more results. I mean, that's how I built my business, was making calls, and I had my scripts down. It was super second nature, and it made it so much more comfortable. And that's when you really, really start ramping up and getting some results.
But I want to see them practice on each other, not on a live lead. Because if you practice on each other, you don't have the expense of, say, a Zillow lead that's $300 to $500
Yep.
or whatever it may be, and because leads are expensive. So if you practice on each other, think of a professional athlete, like an NFL player. They practice for hours and hours and hours a week to play minutes in a game. We go practice on the client live, and it's like, why are you not practicing? Especially if you want to be in the top tiers. I was just looking, Shelly had sent me, we were texting over the weekend. Let me pull up these numbers just so you guys have an idea. So this was stats for real estate from NAR. So this is agents that sold homes. 0 homes sold for the year, for the whole year. 923,000 agents did not sell a house. So that was 71.1% of agents nationwide. Between 1 and 4 homes sold for the year, 193,000. So that was now you're in the top 15%. If you sold 1 home, you're in the top 15%. 5 to 9 homes, you're in the top 7%. That was 90,000. 10 to 19 homes, you're in the top 4%. 20 to 29 was in the top 1.5. And then 30 to 49.8%. And then 50 to 99. So Reed and Paul, great job. You guys sold, you're in the top half of 1%. So just knowing these statistics, I was like, holy shit. That's how bad our industry is, unfortunately. And then like, how good are you? Because it's been tough the last couple of years. Average agents selling, the ones that are selling about 3, 4 homes. But then on teams, we should be higher. How much productivity can you get? And this is small tweaks that'll get you the higher production. I was just on a panel with Leo Preha last week, and it was on per agent productivity. And he had us all up on stage. It's like, hey, yours is the highest in the company. If I'm not the highest, I'm in the top couple, 2 or 3. And he said, what do you do? I was like, focus on the basics. Like everybody chases the shiny objects that may get you a deal or two, but if you work on the basics, amazing how things come. Like everything is relationship driven. So that's why I say using your phone book. Those people already know you, like you, and trust you. Probably if you have them in your phone book, they at least know you. So you got one of them. It's not a blind call or cold call or however else. So the other thing is what we tell ourselves. Make sure, like, if you have a lead that you're calling, it's not a cold call. Oh, I'm doing cold calls. I'm like, bullshit, that's not a cold call. They reached out, they're in our database, they're getting emails from us. They know they've seen our name, whether they remember it or not. It's not cold. If you pick up a phone book, if you can find one, and then you call through that, or you do cold or do circle prospecting, that's a cold call. So know the differentiation of what you're telling yourself. You can go to the next slide. Anything else on role play? Because I mean, the other thing is like I don't love scripts because people aren't going to remember them. And then you're like, if you talk to somebody that's reading from a script that's soliciting you, you can tell they're reading from a script. It sounds like shit. They don't know it well enough. But if you're good at it and you've practiced it, great. But most people haven't practiced it long enough. But if you have framework, now you know what a call should sound like. So this was my productivity over our line was 8.1. We had 21 closings per agent on our team last year, and fundamentals work. Our best year we did 476 homes with 13 agents. That's 36 homes sold per agent. But what is it? It's productivity, right? It's like, how are you going to sell more houses in the same amount of time or less, not working 100 hours a week? So it's really fundamental. It's really the basics. And that's what proof of the basics work. That was the test that we did with Brendan for my team of him making 100 calls every day. By the 3rd month, he wasn't making 100 calls a day. He was lucky to make 300 calls a week. And then he was down to 200 calls a week because he was so damn busy. So, but work works. That's my fundamental thing here. So, all right, can you go to the next one? So here's the scripting for LP Mama. There is a script that if you guys want to scan the QR code and download it, feel free. But in there it's written out, so I thought we had it in here, but I'll give you a minute on this slide before I move to the next one. Everybody got it? Okay.
I have a
All
quick
right,
question.
go ahead.
If you are searching through your phone book or your contact list, and you have a friend or someone you know that is related to another agent, or has worked with them in the past, or is a cousin of someone, do you still call them and just have a genuine conversation and say, "Hey, I'm familiar with you and your relationships,"
I wouldn't even bring it
or do
up.
you
I wouldn't
you
bring it
don't
up.
even bring it up?
I
Okay,
would just
okay,
same kind of the Ford conversation. How are you today? How you been? I haven't
okay,
seen you in a long time. How's everything in your world? Let them talk.
got it. Okay,
Like I can't tell you how many clients I have that their agents, like their cousin or uncle or aunt were bigger agents in our market, probably like top 10. And I sold them like some of them I sold the whole family houses. Like like the parents, the daughter. I can think of the one client, like the agent Paul in our market's probably at least top 15 agents. He was probably like top 10 at the first time I dealt with him. I thought he was actually a better agent than me. Or he had been around a lot longer time anyway, but they didn't want the family having that much information about him. So we, again, be careful of the stories we tell ourselves, right? So just have the conversation and people are going to gravitate who they feel comfortable with. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And when you're having conversation asking, because how many calls do you get asking how you are today?
mhm,
Zero, maybe one, maybe your mom, not much more than that generally. So, but if you're genuinely caring and just say like, hey, anything I can do to help, anything you need, or like when you're asking about how work is and they say, oh, how's work with you? They're going to bring up like, oh, my cousin, I talked to her the other day and she said how busy she is. Okay, great. That's awesome. Blah, blah. And I would just keep going and see if they said, like, it never hurts to have a friend.
right.
So you just don't know where a
Okay,
conversation is going to go, or they may feel comfortable referring you somebody that they don't want to refer to the family member. But we determine, like, we start telling the story in our head versus really what an outcome is. They might have had a big family fight or something like,
right.
and then
Okay,
if you bring
thank
it up,
you.
now you brought up the soreness and the soreness in it. So we never know what we don't know, right?
Right.
So. So
Thanks.
just be careful of what we tell ourselves. That's the most important thing for mindset and everything else. Just go in, and when you start with that framework, you're just asking questions like, and say that agent said, "Well, why are you calling my cousin?" I was just calling to see how she's doing. She's in my phone book. I was just calling through my phone book. So you didn't do anything wrong, right? I mean, it wasn't that you're calling deceiving them in any way. That's the one thing I like about LP Mama when you're going through it. You're not guiding someone in the wrong way. And same thing with Ford. You're just asking inquisitive questions. So does that help?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Again, this is for you guys, not for me to talk. So, all right, Sue, can we go to the next one? So there's Ford too. So it's like, again, that way, in case you aren't understanding what I was saying, you got it. And there's the script on that too. We can go to the next one. So we built, we call it MVP, so most valuable partners for our team. So think of when you get a referral, are you rewarding your referral with something? We've created a Yeti. It's a blue Yeti. It's like one of our team, the blue that you're seeing where it says reward referral. So it's a blue like that, and it has our logo, and then it says MVP through the logo. We give that to a client on a first referral. The second referral, we do a Cutco knife, and the third referral, we give them a cutting board that's engraved. So the goal is to um, build a club around our database, right? So think of when you belong to, I don't know, a grocery store or whatever else, you got to put your phone number in for that rewards, and then you get discounts on things. So this is just like, let's give them something for referring us business so we stay top of mind. Then we also do a monthly giveaway. We started out as like $100 a month gift. Now this last year we bumped it up to $250. So we'll do some nice packages. Like we just had one for Valentine's Day. It was a $200 gift card for a really nice restaurant, local restaurant, which we got donated from the restaurant. We did $100 for flowers, and then something else. I don't remember. It was like some other stuff. So that one was probably like $350. But we had, $250 or so out of pocket because we paid for the flower gift card. So we have an email that goes out about them, of what we're giving away. And it's just staying in contact with them. But as soon as they send you a referral, you want to reward the referral. Because a lot of time we want to reward it when we close. The closing doesn't count. They thought of you to pass the information on. You should reward them with something. If it's marketing merchandise, you can spend a little bit more on that. Otherwise, it's only supposed to be a $25 gift. So if you say, hey, I'm going to do a $25 gift card, I'll never forget Brian Buffini talking about this with his local restaurant that he used to give cards out. He had like a, $2 million referral that came in. He's like, I feel really funny of like, do I send him this $25 gift card? He's like, should I just send him the whole stack of them or what, what? But he did. He just wrote his personal note out and sent him a $25 gift card and said, thanks so much. And the guy called him. He's thinking he's like gonna say, hey, you're a cheap ass about this, but he's like, well, I appreciate the thought. That's what it's all about. Thank you for rewarding me passing on the information to you. So where that gets skipped over too many times. But with our giveaways, it's just trying to keep our database engaged and get more and more referrals from it. And then our client events, we usually try to do something a little bit nicer for our MVP clients. Maybe if it's drink tickets, they get twice as many, or open bar, they get higher end liquor or something like that. So just something you could do that's different for your clients, or they're the main ones that get the invites. So if you're doing a smaller event, it's only for MVPs. So we do at Christmas time, we do a ceramic decoration. So they'll make an ornament, and then they come back and pick it up after it's been in the kiln and so forth. But just different things that are keeping your client database engaged. So, but reward that referral up front, because that way referrals are like insurance companies get renewals. We have referrals. So how do you keep them engaged? Anything on that? Any questions on that? Okey-dokey. All right, we can go to the next slide then. I think we're almost done too. All right, so this is another thing that's back to basics. If you create your top 50 list, not a top 30, not a top 20, not a top 10, who's your top 50 clients? And these can be family members, they can be friends, and they can be clients. If you don't have a lot of clients, then they should be probably all family members and people you know, vendors, anybody that's going to refer you business. But think of who your cheerleaders are out there. Your cheerleaders should be on the top of the list, and then work your way down. You should sort and qualify this quarterly. Like see if you're having conversations, you're having a phone call conversation with these people once a month. Because these are people you know, like, and trust, and they like you. You enjoy talking to them. If there are ones that you don't enjoy talking to them, don't put them on the list. And try to keep this around 50. At 50, make those calls every month. When we tell our agents make 20 calls, we tell them 3 of their top 50, 2 other sphere calls, and then 15 lead follow-ups, because the lead follow-ups wear you out. They're the ones that are like, F you, why are you calling me? I didn't fill out that form. Like, yes, you did. These people already know who you are. They like you. They trust you. They want to either break bread or have a coffee or whatever with you. And they're a big cheerleader for you for referrals. You're just staying in front of these. These are all about Ford, Ford, more of the Ford conversation than anything. And those are the ones going to send you a lot of business. When I was coaching for Workman Success, this was one of their basics. One of the other coaches there, she did this for 4 years. By her 4th year, she did 87 transactions just through her top 50. 87 in that 1 year. It started out as like 20. It started at like 20 the 1 year. Then it jumped into like 35. Then it jumped into 50s. And then she got to 80. It was either 86 or 87. But it was all about just staying in contact with them every month. It's not just a text to them, but it's a phone call. You're having like dinner with them. You're having coffee. It's people that you like being around. Your best friends are probably on here because they would refer you business. Your parents, if they're alive, they would probably refer you business. Like, who is it that would be on here? And then top clients. And then just staying in contact with them. It's all about them. And they're going to make it about you too. But it's all about having conversation with those 50. When you have client events, you may invite 10 of them at a time. Like for us, we usually say invite 10 of your top 50. you may get 3 or 4 that can show up because depending on everybody's schedules. So some of them we keep inviting, other ones we like work your way down the list through all 50 of them. If you're not getting referrals or they're not taking your calls, take them off the list because they are not a top 50 that's going to refer you business. All about consistency. And you can blend in a conversation with them of like, say it was somebody that you had on here as a top 50 and you know their cousin's an agent. It'll be like, hey, I just want to see how you're doing and so forth. And, I stay in contact with our database because our business is built on referrals. Is there an agent that you refer business to, or would you feel confident in referring me business? And see what they say. Don't know till you ask. And they say, oh, no, I send all my business to my cousin. Okay, great. Not on my list then. That's fine. Just like you don't know till you ask, rather than just staying on there and then you don't ask the question and they're not going to send you business either. So just ask the question. It's not confrontational. It's not awkward. This could build your business for the year if you stayed consistent with this. But you have to sort and qualify it. Meaning you're calling through it once a month, quarterly sorting it, knocking people off, putting other people on. Invite them to events, invite them to dinner, to drinks, to lunch. Work out together, whatever it may be. Play golf. Because you're going to have different levels on these too. You're going to have out the top 50, my top 10 and my top 50 probably send me most referrals out of all of them combined. They get invited to more stuff because they refer. I like being around them. And then you have ones, think of who your natural connectors are. We had when we had Gene Frederick was on our first call, remember that? And he was talking about who are your, like, think of who your networkers are that really connect. There's networkers that are like, oh, I know so and so that's going to, you need to talk to Grace. She's a great agent, blah, blah, blah. Like whoever it may be, who's your connectors? Who's your salespeople in other industries? Those are the ones that usually refer you the most. Or just the big mouth. Like who is it that's a loudmouth in a good way? That is your, broadcast, because they are going to broadcast to their friends. But the key is just staying in contact. If you don't stay in contact with them, they're not referring. Any questions on this? This is a big part of it. And if you guys just did this, I bet you would increase your sales 10 to 15 sales a year. But it's just staying consistent with it. Most people won't stay consistent with it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Track how many calls. So in your database, make sure you guys are using your database. We've seen on average, we were making 28 calls to get an appointment. So when you're calling through cold calls, it's taking 28. When you're calling through this, it's still going to end up about the same because not everybody knows somebody that's referring at the same time. But if you're talking to 50 of them a month, that's 2 referrals a month. We could all use 2 extra referrals a month. Sort and qualify. We can go to the next one. So daily success habits. This would be making action fun. So if you use, like, you take a screenshot of this, think of what's going to make you productive. Phone calls, definitely. Emails and text messages, definitely. Handwritten notes, 2 homes shown per 1 client, buyer appointment or listing appointment, buyer signed or listing appointment signed, offer written, closing, open houses, door knocking, one more thing, one more time, role play. All those things are dollar productive activities, right? So if you like, the goal for them is like getting 61 points. So you can make 61 phone calls, you can send 30 calls, 30 emails and texts, you're getting 60 points, do a handwritten note. Make it a fun game, right? If you think of how you would work if your significant other followed you around all day while you're at work. Would you work differently than you are right now? Because otherwise they're like, what the hell do you do all day? You're sitting in front of your computer. It's a lot of time we get into the abyss. If you want to find out where your gaps are, take a legal pad, write out what you're doing every 15 minutes of the day. I do that for every new coaching client. You will see all your gaps. We all get 24 hours in a day. Some people make 15 an hour, some people make 500 an hour, some people make 5,000 an hour. We all get that same 24 hours. What are you doing with it? Does this like if you followed this and made, and said, hey, I'm going to get 61 points every day, would you think you'd become more productive?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
And like
where
I said,
accountability partners come in for sure.
right, right. Like I said,
Like,
have your
let me
spouse
check your
follow you one
sheet.
day. Right, right. Oh yeah, because do that with your spouse, like whoever your significant other that you see every day. If they are following you around, would you do the same shit you do now, or would you tweak your day a little bit? Shelly, how are you?
Good.
You got to Colorado.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
But just doing this, and then again, if you want to see where your gaps are, take a legal pad and paper out, do it for a week. You will see like, oh, I started checking email. Email is somebody else's priority, not yours. Remember that. If it's important, they should call or text you. But people send email, that's their priority. If you live in everybody else's priority, they're controlling your life, not you controlling your life. You get to write your story every day. How well do you want your story to turn out? You want somebody else writing it or do you? So if you time block your day, that's going to be the next thing. Which let's go to the next slide. Does anybody else need a picture of this or anything? So if we do, we can go back. But this is where I was saying this is going to be a super exciting class, right? Make your life boring, meaning do the same thing at the same time every day. I know during the week, when I'm not injured, I go to the gym at 6 a.m. I'm up at 4:40. I go to the gym at 6. I walk at 7:15. I'm in the shower at 8, and I'm in the office before 9. So I know that morning I have a 9 o'clock morning meeting Monday to Friday. I know I don't have to think what day it is or anything else. It's there. If you go to the gym, set your clothes out the night before. Amazing how less disruption to your spouse. You're all set. You know what you're doing. You get out the door faster. You pull your clothes out for work the night before. Small things that give you big tweaks. But when are you prospecting? Stay consistent with prospecting. What nights of the week would you want to spend time? Do you have a date night? Oh, you should have a date night with your significant other. We do it with my grandkids. They come over on Wednesday. I know Wednesday I'm home at 5 o'clock, so I can spend the time with them. So what is it that you're time blocking? Make sure you're putting your big things in too. Vacations, kids' games, whatever it may be. Time block your day. Time block your weeks. This is like my perfect week. There is never a perfect week. Life happens. Shit's going to happen. Something's going to pop up. So it's never going to be perfect. This is ideal. If you could hit it 70 to 80% of the time, you're doing fantastic. If you're hitting it 20% of the time, change your schedule. Figure out what works for you. But I would tell you the most productive, high net worth people that I know, their lives are like they're boring. They're doing the same thing every day at the same time, and they get so much more done in a day. They don't you like they're not having brain damage to thinking of these things. It's like, all right, I just know where I'm going. And when something's out of sorts, I know like if I have to be somewhere at a different time, like shit, I got to put reminders in like an hour ahead of time so I don't forget it. Because all of a sudden it's in a time where I would usually be doing something I would like a 9 o'clock meeting. So just think of those things, and the more boring you can make it, the better off you are. And just know that it's never going to be perfect. This is an ideal perfect week. Life's never perfect. If you can hit it 70% or more, then you're great. But you should be living from your calendar. If you don't, I would say anytime I hire a new agent, if they haven't worked from a calendar before, like if it's not in my calendar, it does not exist. So the ones that we've hired that didn't use a calendar like that before, they usually have a hard adjustment. But if most of the people that had already lived by a calendar, like, oh yeah, I got to put these things in. My wife drives me nuts with hers, but she doesn't have to live by a calendar. I do. My life's busy enough. We get a lot crammed in a day. What are you doing with your time? We all get the 24 hours. What are you doing with them? And if you want to make more money, put the dollar productive times in. And then if you're going to play, put that in your calendar. It's an appointment. Your client does not need to know it's an appointment. I mean, what it is, they just need to know it's an appointment. If somebody called me on a Saturday and I had that I was going to be somewhere with my family, I have an appointment. They don't need to know it's a family appointment, and you're going to piss them off if you tell them, oh, I'm going to spend time with my family at 10. I can't do it then, because they don't care about you. They care about themselves. And if you guys don't know that by now, if you pay attention to your clients, they don't care about anybody but themselves, no matter who it is. So you have an appointment and that's it. Because when you start telling them, like, because I see some of our nicer ones like, oh, I have this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do not tell them that. You have an appointment. That's it. Because then they're going to make you feel guilty. Well, can't you just go a little late to that? I'm like, no, I can't. That's more important than you. Can't tell them that, but they know that they're more important and that's it. So just be careful of telling people what your appointment is, which I would not. Jennifer, you had asked about sharing the tracker. I'll see if I can share that with Craig, and that way he can share it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Is there another slide? I can't remember if that was the last one or not.
That was the last one.
Okay, cool. All right. Any questions on anything? If not, we'll end a little bit early. I just want to make sure I'm giving you guys some value. And fundamentals are so freaking important. If you can build your foundation, like you can't put a roof on a house without a great foundation and walls. So build your foundation, and amazing what you can take up from there.
Great stuff, Lee, and very helpful. Always good to go back to the basics and kind of reboot from the ground up, like you said, with the foundation. Like I think you also said that we all get caught up in the shiny object. There's always something new coming out, like, oh, this person's doing that, that person's doing this, like, and we get distracted and we try things. We're doing 15 things at one time and we're moving forward extremely slow.
Yep.
I think this is a great foundation, and then from this, choose your superpower in addition to this, but this is always the foundation.
Gary Keller, I'll never forget, in his masterminds, he's like, you guys got here from doing the same thing over and over and got so good at it, right? One thing 10,000 times, not 10,000 thing one time. So you guys got so good at it, but then you got bored and you start getting distracted into other stuff. He's like, go focus back to what you did to get in this room, and you'll be amazed of your outcome. You don't need anything else. We don't need to hear new things. We just need to hear the same thing again. That's what this class was all about. I'm sure you guys heard most of this stuff before at some point, but it was either wasn't important or it wasn't, I don't know, maybe it didn't get brought through enough. But that's saying when the student's ready, the teacher shows up. That was, I think that happened to me like 12 years ago with a trainer. It's like I was fat and out of shape, needed to get serious about it, found a good teacher, then leaned into them, but I wasn't ready until then. If he would have showed up earlier in my life, I wasn't ready for it. So it's like, hopefully these fundamentals will really help you build for this year. I mean, I think it's going to be a great year, way better than the last three. Last three have been a little tough. So, what can you do this year, but really build on this foundation and take it forward, but don't get chasing all the other bullshit. Fundamentals really work. And then here, like when I got the phone call about being one of the top in the company for PPP, for per person productivity in our line, I was like, wow, I was ecstatic to hear that. I was like, I had no idea. And then when Leo was digging into it in our mastermind, he's like, it just shows that fundamentals work. And if we could just build on that, you guys can have an amazing outcome, but just don't get distracted. Stay focused on, like, if you can put your blinders on and just look at like, hey, I'm going to do these things, do it for 90 days and see where it goes. And then just stay at it and make your small tweaks on the way, not big tweaks. Like I always hear from John Cheplack, small hinges swing big doors, right? It's always the small tweaks. So, all right, if not, I'm done. So,
All right.
Thanks, Lee.
you're welcome.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much. And
Yeah.
we will have this on video. We'll get it all buttoned up, and we'll send it out to Lee and to Chris's team. And if you guys want to re-watch it, I think this is a really good one to re-watch and pause and really take it in. And
So speaking of pauses, when you role play, be careful where your pauses are. Like when I was saying, like, hey, is that an area you're looking in? Pause. Let them talk. Hey, okay, I looked that property up. It's priced at 500,000. Is that a price range you're looking in? Pause. Don't pause after it's 500,000 because a lot of agents, it's 500,000. Pause. No, it's 500,000. Is that a price range you're looking in? Then pause. So your pauses are really important. So just pay attention to that when you're having conversation. And if you let people know, like, hey, I'm just in case you hear a pause from me, I'm making notes. I'm writing down notes. If you tell them that in the beginning, if there's something that's awkward or you're trying to think, that gives you time. But you have to start with that. One of the other things I would say when I'm out showing, when I was out showing houses, during that first consultation, I would always say to them, I'm going to ask you after every house that we see if you want to buy it. Not to push you, but I want to make sure that I'm asking the question because you two may have conversations, especially when it's husband and wife or spouses or whatever, that you guys may be having a conversation that I'm not privy to. And I don't know whether you want to buy it or not. And you may call me tomorrow and say you want to buy it and the house is already gone. So I'm going to ask you, is it okay if I ask you when we're done seeing the house, do you want to buy it? I'm not asking to push. Does that make sense? And are you okay with it? Get the permission. And when they do, some of the houses are like a piece of crap. And like you walk out and it's like, hey, do you want to buy this? And you get a chuckle out of it. Other ones are like, hey, yes, we really do want to buy this house. Okay, great. At least you know now. So because if you don't ask, you don't get the answer. But set yourself up in the beginning during the consultation. These are small tweaks that give you so much distance and so much higher conversion. Okay. All right, that's all I got now.
Guys, remember that not next week we have our regular team masterminds. The week after is Cabo, so we will not be having, and then team mastermind, and then we have Brandon Greenplate who will be joining us. Him and his brother saw luxury in Hilton Head. They have a really good model, some really good takeaways that I know you're going to enjoy listening to them. A lot. Some of you know Brandon on this call, so it's going to be high energy, really good call, and you guys are going to get a lot out of it. So thank you, Lee, for doing this. Thanks, Craig, for leading it, and everybody being here. I just wanted to share that so people know the plan. You'll see dates coming out for your calendars. So we'll get all the leads involved in that.
Perfect. Thank you.
thank you.
See y'all.
Thank you, Lee.